Hi, everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. The Archbarony of Ratik is a really great place to do a campaign in Greyhawk, and I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Grognard. So I wanted to go through the geography a little bit because the geography impacts Radek a lot more than it does some of the other places in the Flyness. You can see it's right in the middle of the screen there. To the south, you've got the Bone March. That's where the humanoids are that came out of the Rakers, and they tried to attack Radek, but Radek was too strong, so they bypassed it and basically took over the Bone March. And then beyond the Bone March, you've got North Province and the rest of the Great Kingdom. To the west, you've got the Rakers. That's where the humanoids came from. There's also a lot of mountain dwarves there that are allied with Radek. To the north, you have the Frost Barbarians who have an alliance with Radek. The Frost Barbarians are under the command, they're under the control of the Snow Barbarians, but because of the alliance, Radek is able to give them, more tactics, teach them how to use cavalry and that sort of thing, and that's helping the Frost Barbarians to get rid of to get out from under the thumb of the Snow Barbarians. You've also got those two forests. You've got the Loftwood to the east and the Timberway Forest to the south, to the north. Those are the reason that Radek was ever created in the first place, because they wanted those woodlands for timber to make ships. So so the North Province, that's why the Great Kingdom sent the troops as far north as Radek. But you can see there geographically, they have little trade with the Theocracy, the Pale over the mountains. They've got the Frost Barbarians to the north. They've got the Humanoids to the south. They've got a lot of perils on all directions. So it's a very interesting place geographically. So, taking a look at my well-worn copy of A Guide to the World of Greyhawk that came with a gold box, we have Ratic here. If I can flip to it. Um, Capital is Marner. The population of Ratic is only 35,000, but there are also mountain dwarves and gnomes in many thousands of those. The resources are shipbuilding supplies, which I think is the only place that the guide actually uses that phrase in the resources section. Furs, gold, and gems. Um, and it basically covers the origin when the Bone March was created by the Overking. A further outpost was desired, and the Aerdy bands pushed northward as far as the Timberway. A military commander was appointed to see to the establishment of the secure territory, and lumbering was gotten underway. So, this was basically the furthest northern expansion of the Great Kingdom was Ratic. And then later on, the Overking was receiving not only great wealth and the timber and so forth, but it was also getting reports of how the commanders of Ratic were defeating, pushing back the barbarians. So that that pleases the Overking as well. And then there's a report that. The Ratic had stopped a barbarian fleet that was going on to raid the Great Kingdom. So, because of that, that's how Ratic became a barony, and it remained so for many years. They have a lot of alliances with the dwarves and the gnomes, and this becomes very important because when the humanoids coming out of the Rakers, the orcs and hobgoblins and so forth, are coming out of the Rakers, they want to take over. Basically, they want to push all the humans and demi-humans out of there. But because the mountain dwarves had warned the Baron of the humanoids coming, they were able to mount a defense. And the humanoids said, "Okay, this is too hard. We're going to go on to the Bone March." And that's when the Bone March was invaded and collapsed because Radek was so well armed that they actually bypassed it. So now Radek becomes this kind of outpost of civilization caught between the humanoids and the Bone March and the barbarians to the north. And then later on, they make an alliance with the Frost Barbarians, and they start training the Frost Barbarians in like civilized warfare, and they give them cavalry and so forth. And that's enough to basically um, free the Frost Barbarians who had been kind of under the thumb of the Snow Barbarians, and they still are in name, but in every practical sense, the Frost Barbarians are now independent because they have that strength because they allied with Radek. Um, The Baron's forces are able to defend Ratik, but they are not strong enough to dislodge the humanoids from the mountains of the plain to the south. Um, they have levies consist of schultrons of spearmen and a small force of light cavalry. Large dwarven contingents are available in time of need, as are several company of sturdy gnomes. Force of men at arms, crossbowmen, and mounted sergeants comprise the regular army, and there are also slingers from the hills. And if you one of the neat things is they give a series of adventures here in the glossography, and one of those is is based around the alliance between the Frost Barbarians and Ratik. It's called the Stolen Seal, and basically there's this seal that would formalize the alliance, and it gets stolen by the humanoids of the Bone March, and it has to be uh, recovered before the alliance can be threatened. So that's kind of neat. And if you look at the random encounter tables, um, one of the interesting things here about Ratik is that it has um, uh, woodsman and hillman both in it. So that's they have a lot of these wild and rugged kind of types. It's a good, almost gives a feel like the Klondike, in the 19th century in Canada, where you have these trappers and woodsmen and stuff, and there's the threat of the barbarians to and the humanoids and so forth. This gives a very nice feel, and I think that's part of its appeal. A lot of people over the years have set their campaigns in Ratik, and I think it's because you have that nice mix. You do have this outpost of civilization surrounded by half friendly barbarians to the north and humanoids to the south, and you've got some friendly dwarves in the west, but there's also humanoid perils there. So there's a lot of cool things, and you've got mountains and water and hills and forests. So you got a kind of a geographical um, mix there. That's always really nice when you're doing something for an adventure. It is covered in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer, and they push uh, the 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 history forward, obviously, because it takes place. The Gazetteer goes after the wars and so forth. Nothing really happens to Ratik during the wars itself, but afterwards. They kind of have this thing where the Baron who created the alliance dies, and then his son marries Evelay, those of you who are fans of the Gord the Rogue books will remember Evelay. She was in the first book, and she marries the Baron, and then she becomes the de facto Baroness, and there's some tensions because of that and so forth. I'm not too keen on that whole thing. I mean, the Evelay marrying into the baronial house is one thing, but then he dies and she becomes the de facto baron. It's kind of, I don't know if you need that, but it certainly doesn't hurt anything, and it's always nice to see the characters from the books coming into the setting. So that's always nice. So Ratik is like I say, a lot of people have put their campaigns there. There's a lot of good stuff there to do. And it's another thing that's good about it is it's small, it's manageable, right? You can set up a campaign there, a nice sandbox campaign, relatively easily, because it's not this big, huge, sprawling location, right? It's this relatively compact, so it's not that hard to detail. So anyway, there we have it, the Archbarony of Ratik. Hope you like this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you ever done a campaign in Ratik? Are you one of the many people I've heard of over the years who've done it? Please let me know. I'd love to hear about it. And hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.